Today on Locked On Rockies, we've been serious. We've been focusing on the philosophy and the big changes coming to the Rockies. Let's have some Friday fun with an offseason question of, if you could pick one free agent for the Rockies to sign, who would it be?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 10th day of October in the year 2025. Saying that aloud kind of makes my skin crawl, as this year has absolutely flown by. But yes, indeed, a Friday edition of the Locked On Rockies podcast. Paul Holden here, your Rockies fan extraordinaire, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk, as I've been doing for about 4 or 5 seasons. I don't know, a few years now, here on the Locked On Rockies podcast, bringing you daily Colorado Rockies talk right here, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to the Colorado Rockies. And today, we've been kind of serious mode. We've been kind of going philosophy. We've been hitting the GM stuff in the front office stuff super hard. So let's have a little bit more fun. Let's just go with the what if machine here. And instead of it being dream free agent class, I want you to pick one free agent. If the Rockies could sign the perfect contract in your mind, the perfect contract for any available free agent. And we'll talk about some of the big names available across baseball as free agents. Not like the Rockies are going to get involved with any of these, but would always be cool to see. So I want you to let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. We'll of course read your comments from the last episode. We'll talk a little bit about the playoffs as well as the Phillies. Your heart just breaks there. I mean, obviously, if you're a Dodgers fan, you're super excited, but that is the duality of sports, the joy, the sprinting on the field of the Dodgers. My mic stand doesn't want to live up to the moment, and not only the defeat, but the way that defeat happened for the Phillies. All that, man, more on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we go any further, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. So I wanted to start here with just kind of a fun Friday thing. Again, we've been kind of hitting the serious stuff. I've been going deep. I know we haven't gotten our player evaluations. I am going to start those next week. We'll start talking about players. We'll start really breaking down the season. But I think the conversation still remains to be important about what's the next for the Rockies. Now we can take a look at where the Rockies are at right now, who and the players that will be evaluated by the new staff, the new coach, and possibly new coaching staff, but new front office, the new people in the front office, what they're going to be dealing with, and the players that we will talk about some highlights. And unfortunately, we can't ignore what happened over last season. Unfortunately, as much as we want to be able to not just drag this out and dwell on things, there's no ignoring what just happened for the Colorado Rockies in terms of performance. There's just no way around it. But anyway, I wanted to just kind of dive into if you could pick, and I want you to take in the full context of where the Rockies are at right now. Out of everyone, you had a Willy Wonka golden ticket, but instead of a tour going through a chocolate factory, it was the Rockies can sign the perfect free agent contract of any upcoming free agent in baseball. Who would you pick? Let's just go through some of the names here that are available here. JT Realmuto, Salvador Perez, Pete Alonso, Josh Naylor, Ryan O'Hearn. Let's see, Gleyber Torres, Miguel Rojas, Bo Bichette, Trevor Story, Alex Bregman, Eugenio Suarez, Max Muncy, Lourdes Gurriel Jr., Cody Bellinger, Harrison. Bader there, Harrison Bader, Trent Grisham, Kyle Tucker, Mike Yastrzemski, Kyle Schwarber, Marcelo Zuna, Those are the position players. All are a lot of these teams. There's options involving this as well. So think about if they don't take the options. In pitchers, you got Sale, Cease, Framber Valdez, Ranger Suarez, Jack Flaherty, Freddie Peralta, Nick Martinez, Chris Bassett, Michael King. There's plenty of options here in terms of upcoming free agent pitchers. But if it was me, if I could pick one guy to become a member of the Colorado Rockies, because I believe what this player could do and contribute and how he could contribute for the Rockies would be just this, and he could do it for a long time, even though he's already 32 years old and the Rockies are, pretty far behind the 8-ball. It's Kyle Schwarber. If Kyle Schwarber was the designated hitter for the Rockies, it would be awesome. You wouldn't have to worry about anything on defense. You'd have a guy that hit 56 home runs this last year. You'd have a guy whose whole thing is just hitting bombs in big situations and slugging and just being an absolute force of a multi-base run scoring threat, which is the exact type of weapon that every great Rockies lineup has had and will have. And as much as we've preached, again, one pitcher isn't going to fix everything for the Rockies. But if Kyle Schwarber is hitting at Coors Field and he's anchoring a Rockies offense that might have some guys with the ability to get on base when you're talking about Hunter Goodman, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle. Again, some down years when you're talking about Tovar and Doyle, but if these guys are able to rebound and be the offensive players that we've seen, Kyle Schwarber would pair very well with them. And then if Hunter Goodman and Jordan Beck continue to be threats on offense, and Hunter Goodman goes from being your really only main power threat, your only main power option, to one of the best power hitting, if not the best power hitting hitter in the game, that would be an incredible improvement here. Again, this is a fantasy, a perfect contract, lines up absolutely the right way. This isn't going to happen, but this isn't the first time I've talked about Kyle Schwarber being a perfect fit for the Colorado Rockies, and especially now with the universal DH. 4.7 WAR. So not the most, not the craziest, not the highest WAR listed player in these in this free agent class, and maybe that's wasting the magic wand. But 56 home runs and 604 at bats, 240 batting average, driving in 132, scoring 111 times himself, 10 stolen bases as well, 365 OBP, a slugging of 563, an OPS of 928, and an OPS plus of 150. This is a guy that brings in runs. This is a guy that does damage. This is a guy that would thrive at Coors Field. And I know it's not just the homer thing. It's not just that. It's the fact that he's got that slugging. It's the fact that he can hit for power and get you some extra base knocks as well. 23 doubles on the year for Schwarber here. He's now had at least 20 doubles in 3 out of his last 4 seasons, missing the 20 double mark by 1 in 2023. This is at least 115 hits here now in the back-to-back seasons, with 140 hits here, playing in all 162 games. And again, this is a situation where you if he's DHing, that you don't have to worry about any of a negative fielding value. You have solely a guy who's designed and built to be an absolute offensive threat. And I think that is going to be the secret sauce or the X factor of any Rockies lineup. You have to have competitive pitching. You have to have a pitching staff that's able to keep you in games and not be a league worse or historically bad in terms of ERA like we saw this past year. Yes, the best thing would be to bring in a great pitcher to stabilize that in some minds. But I think overall, if you're the Rockies, you should be able to, ideally through this rebuild and ideally through a change of philosophy and digging deep and really and maximizing your resources. You're a professional baseball team. You should be able to develop major league pitching. You should be able to bring the people in, develop the system. That is your responsibility, and you should be able to do that. So if you're able to develop a league average, good enough pitching staff, not one that's dominant, but one that keeps you, that doesn't get you too far behind, keeps you in enough ball games and a solid enough bullpen. Because I don't know how many situations we'll ever be in where the Rockies pitching staff will be dominant, incredible, great, like, like multiple guys that are going to shut you out, shut you down, Skeens, scuba level type stuff. But if you have a pitching staff and a defense that keeps you in games, but then the offense comes up, that's going to be the thing that sways the Rockies and help them go on a run. The Rockies having a successful and strong offense mixed with a solid, I think that's the best way to describe it. Again, I think solid, it doesn't imply great or anything, but good enough pitching staff, that will help them be in contention for the wild card. It might not be good enough for a World Series or a division title and a lot of steps in between there, because you need your pitching staff to take a step to that next level. You need incredible pitching. You need elite pitching to help you get to, reach the highest level. But if we're just talking about contention, a league average to or solid, as the word we're using, pitching staff mixed with a great offense is going to get you there. And I think a guy like Kyle Schwarber can contribute. Now, the dose of reality here, of course, obviously not to mention the fact that he's not going to not go compete at this stage at his career and not join a team or rejoin a team that's going to be in a position to be doing things in October and being a factor late in the season. He's, the age, it wouldn't match up very well with where the Rockies are at, and the fact that this is still a multi-year, a multi-stage rebuild that has to happen for the Colorado Rockies. So in terms of timeline, it wouldn't really match up, but it would be so fun to watch. It would be awesome. It would be kind of like, in a way where it'd be if having Jason Giambi back on the team, but instead of it being really old Jason Giambi and really washed Jason Giambi, it's a Kyle Schwarber that's hitting at an all-star caliber level and blasting over 50 bombs a year. And I just think that's one thing that the Rockies, in addition to the bad pitching, one of the worst spots that they've put themselves is the fact that they can't get people to hit 30 home runs for them right now. They need this. They need a dominant extra base hitting machine, home runs, hitting for power machine to anchor their batting order. That's I think any successful Rockies team has had that before. And I think that'll be the secret again. If they ain't hitting home runs, they should be hitting doubles and taking advantage of cores. All right, let's take a look at some of your comments here from the Locked On Rockies YouTube comments section. And again, I want to know what you're thinking. Who would be your dream the perfect contract too? Whatever you think the perfect contract is, the perfect free agent signing for the Rockies right now. Not down the line, not anything. This offseason going into 2026. Let me know in the Locked On Rockies YouTube comment section. Fire it off. Let me know what's on your mind. But let's take a break and then let's read some of your comments here from the last episode. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if you hit that bet, you're going to unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. You can use it on live betting if you want to get on the action. If you're sitting there, you're going to be up early watching the Jets and the Broncos there across the pond. You want to get in on the action? Well, you can do that with your bonus bets if you hit it on the day before, or maybe just slightly earlier before. And you can use it on props. You can use it on parlays. You can use it all across the app. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today. Put that $5 bet down. Win that $5 bet. And you're going to get those $300 in bonus bets to use across the FanDuel app that you're downloading today. Get started. Head it over to FanDuel.com. And remember, please play responsibly. Locked On Rockies here, back with you for segment number 2 of today's episode of of Locked On Rockies, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you all sorts of daily Rockies talk. How we doing out there, everybody? Wanted to mix it up, of course, on this Friday. We're focusing in on the GM and the search and the philosophy and everything, but did hear from some of you, the Locked On Rockies listeners out there, who have wanted a couple of the teams that you were hoping that the Rockies could model themselves after here. And let's see here. Felix says, we say this all the time, but I get very jealous watching the Dodgers, and I think we should try to model them. Winning the division seems like nothing to the Dodgers, and I want something like that. Famous international player, awesome shortstop, and excellent at first base. RK also says, I prefer if the Rockies can just use the Dodgers model. I don't care if it's unrealistic. I want it. In all honesty, though, the Rockies just need to get the right type of players. We should have a lineup with 3 to 4 guys that hit nukes and 3 to 4 guys that can get the ball and play consistently. Then the starting pitching staff can't walk people all the time, and you got to have a bullpen that misses bats. Also, I sometimes question the concept of the Rockies can't get free agent pitchers. The Rockies will probably have to overpay compared to other teams, but some good pitchers would come here if the contracts were lucrative enough. The Rockies just have to be smart about the guys they overpay to come here so we don't pull a Mike Hampton again. And I think that's the pretty tough dilemma that the Rockies face, as both of these comments focusing on trying to model the Dodgers. The Dodgers just have the embarrassment of riches. They have the riches that not only are they able to attract and bring in the talent, they're able to use their resources to invest throughout the organization. It's clear that the Rockies have been drastically impacted by the loss of the regional sports network. The Rockies are not a team that makes the money. As much as people sit there and say, you got to get them to boycott, you got to get them to sell and all that stuff. I think there's a few other incentives already that the Rockies would be facing when in terms of wanting to move on from the team and wanting to, get out of this. So I don't necessarily think the attendance is going to be the main driving factor when you're talking about. I saw something on I can't remember where it was. I think it was Reddit or Twitter today about just like the percentage of the population that cares about Major League Baseball, and the Rockies were at the bottom of the barrel. Again, the Rockies' reputation crisis is horrendous. It's horrible. And there's a lot of warning signs about it if you're trying to get out and try to move on from that. The Rockies are going to have to, like, on the flip side of that, though, to get out of this, to get to a position where you can be an exciting and lucrative franchise, where you might be able to go and spend on some free agents, or be able to pay a great staff to develop your talent and be able to have a lot of resources to use throughout your system. It is going to cost you, and you are going to have to go in and be able to bring in some talent, bring in some players. You are going to have to be willing to spend money and start getting yourself back into some sort of a competitive spot, because it's a weird spot of how you get out of that hole. It's not so easy to just say, oh, you can do that. But yeah, I think you're RK, when you're talking about bringing pitchers here, absolutely. But overpaying has been a bad issue for the Rockies, especially when it comes to pitching staff and things. They need to be able to find the guys that they need to be able to look for the guys that maybe were undervalued and are free agents late and close to spring training, or navigate the waiver wire and be successful in thriving there, where we have seen the Rockies make some really good waiver claims and get some good performances there. I think the Rockies need to be able to bring in, it's not going to be the top of the level talent, but the word competitive, again, I think that's kind of, again, I'm kind of looking for buzzwords in this episode, competitive. And I think you can find pitchers that'll help you be competitive in more valuable ways, or ways where you can find some value. That's what those other small market teams do, right? That they find they're able to get maximum value for guys, veterans on low contracts, guys that they were able to be successful on developing. So I think that it's certainly possible, but they have to be willing to put those resources in. They just will never have the same access that the Dodgers have. And obviously both of you acknowledge that in your comments there, but I'm with the Arcade. Got to have some more guys that can do damage, and they need more power, need more base hit guys in the lineup as well. Lux says this: I think in some ways it's good to take example of what other teams are doing and how we could do it, especially similar teams like the Guardians, Rays, Brewers, and I guess maybe the Twins, who constantly make the playoffs. But I don't think you should full on copy. Like the Rockies can't copy off teams to pitch at Coors Field. That's something the Rockies have to figure out themselves. But if you remember, the Rockies did try to copy off the World Series championship team, the Royals, and brought in their pitching staff like Wade Davis, which ended up not working at all. And it's just proof you can't full off copy someone and expect success. The hole the Rockies dug themselves in is deeper than anyone could imagine. Yeah, I mean, it's got to find the solution, right? You got to be able you're not going to be able to just cheat off the test and be able to do things one for one as any other organization is. Every single organization in baseball is different. They all have their payrolls are different, their revenues different. There's a million different things that go in there. So yeah, but you can keep an open mind, and the interest in going outside the organization to bring in the fresh perspective is something the Rockies desperately need. Randy G says, had to take a break. Hey, understandable. Don't worry about it. If you need a break from Rockies stuff, as much as I love when you like the video, subscribe, please do that as much as you can. And it does help the show grow. I don't blame you. I don't blame any Rockies fan that needs a little break from the Rockies action right now, especially with all sorts of other Colorado sports heating up. I mean now, why should the Rockies occupy much mind space where the Broncos heating up a little bit, going and playing international, Avalanche back in action, and we're on prime time starting things off, with a lot of hype about them going into it, and the Nuggets just a couple of weeks are away. Don't blame you at all if the Rockies aren't on your mind. Every location has its own set of uniqueness. From a player development perspective, I have bought into the Mariners' approach. Development is something that they have done for a while. Management philosophy, I prefer Boston and Texas, but the fly in the ointment is the question of whether or not team ownership has the desire to model themselves after those types of owners. I would also like to see the team focus on incremental success as opposed to from trying to go from worst to first. No sustainable winning team has ever had that approach in baseball. Go Avs. Yeah, that's what we need to just see this team go in the right direction next year. We need to see this team move, not downward trend, get worse. Remember earlier last week when we were talking about the numbers show the Rockies have been declining consistently over time, and over in season after season after season. What we need to see next year is not go spend a bunch of money, go do something crazy, go bring in this stuff and change everything, and we got to go in, it's immediate splash, and we need to be in the contention, we need to be competing right away. While that would be wonderful, that's not the realistic spot where the Rockies need to be. And it's unfortunate. I don't want to sit there and say it, but a 62-win season, or really ideally a 63-win season, is massive next year. To go plus 20 on wins would be a huge swing for the Colorado Rockies. That's a sign that things are in a much better spot. It won't feel good. It still will be a long season. It still will be a lot of losing, but we'll see a pulse. And then from there, you start forming that foundation. You have your new front office. You have your new staff in place. You've been able to have them navigate this. And then you go through. You have a trade deadline. You have the offseason there where you're already in place. You see where you're at. And you can move and build from there. I think incremental success is the right mindset to have about what's coming up next for the Rockies, because there's no way we can fool ourselves into telling ourselves that this thing is going to be fixed in one off season and just by bringing in some new names and new faces. It ain't gonna. There's a lot of work that has to be done. All right, let's put a bow on this by talking a little bit about the playoffs and wrap it up on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much again for making us your first listen of the day, and thank you for leaving those comments. Really appreciate every time you guys leave a comment as well. When you engage with the show, it makes my job a lot easier, and I always like hearing what Rockies fans got to say, so thank you again for that. Let's bring the weekend here right now on your Friday episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something that goes beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. It combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula, so you can go the distance, do the deeds you need to do. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if you're prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly right to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know that we sent you. Locked on Rockies here, segment number 3. Tried to close out that last segment, going a little radio style there. It didn't really work out very well. I kind of face planted the end of that segment there. But again, want to hear in the comments your top free agent. If you could pick one free agent to do any sort of signing with the Rockies, perfect contract, who would it be? And why? Let me know in the comments there. Man, the playoffs continue to be thrilling. The Mariners jumping out to a 3-0 lead, and then the Tigers storm back, forcing a game 5 here tonight on the bump. One of the best in the business, man. This is why baseball, when people talk about just the emotions of baseball. I mean, it all leads up to this for one team. 162 games. If you're the Tigers, the collapse, everything. The Mariners going all in at the deadline, the history and everything. I mean, the pageantry alone for this game sets a huge stage before the ALCS, waiting there for a Blue Jays team that's ready to recarve themselves back into the history books. And then on the other side, I mean, that Phillies pitcher. Oh my goodness. After that game was just started by we talk about wanting great pitching. Oh my goodness. Talk about some of the starting pitching performances we have seen in the playoffs from a lot of people from across the board, but then for you to throw the ball away. And unfortunately for Orion Kerkering, how do you escape that? I mean, it's just the brutality, the soul crushing. It's never going to get worse. I mean, in baseball wise, it's never going to get worse than that. And then on the other side, it's the freaking Dodgers continuing to celebrate, I mean, as they should. Baseball, man. Sports in general. I mean, crushing playoff defeats, playoff agony is nothing new. It's a tale as old as time. But there is something especially draining about a baseball loss. And I've been waxing poetic about the baseball postseason because I love it. I truly think to win a World Series is so difficult because the Phillies won their division. They did all this stuff to a hot team. One of the, didn't have to play in the wild card, XYZ. One, dribbler to home, thrown away, or dribbler to the pitcher's mound, panic play, ball thrown away. You've all been there. Every ball player's been there. Either being the team that scores a big run because they make the mistake or your team makes the mistake. And it's just that just sticks. I mean, it's just one of those things that just the legacy. It's part of the legacy forever, good or bad. And oh my goodness, that's just tough. Tough. But we'll see how it all shakes out as the playoffs continues to be a good one. I mean, I think the teams have really been putting out. I think the baseball has been really good. The time stuff, though, we should talk. We'll talk about this maybe next week. The day games. How you feeling about the day games? Let me know in the comments as well. Folks, that's going to do it for us here on Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. We're also on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where every time you like a video, every time you subscribe, when you share, it really helps the show grow. Really appreciate that. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB and Locked On MLB Game Night. And if you need more Colorado sports coverage, Locked On Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Until next time, I'm Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.